All right, let's get to your latest headlines in regards to coronavirus.
This will be probably the toughest week between this week and next week. And there'll be a lot of death, unfortunately, but a lot less death than if this wasn't done, but there will be death.
So President Trump warns Americans to brace for a big spike in coronavirus fatalities in the coming days. It could be the toughest 2 weeks of the pandemic so far. According to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University, the U.S. had the most deaths from the virus recorded in one day. That was yesterday, and more than 1,300. Nationwide, more than 8,500 people have died from the virus, with at least 312,000 people infected. Here in Washington state, health officials confirmed close to 7,600 cases. 310 people have died, and that number includes the first death in Thurston County. Of more than 87,000 people who've taken the test in the state, more than 91% have tested negative. Now, President Trump came under fire this week for not doing enough to help states combat the virus. Now, this morning, Governor Jay Inslee appeared on Meet the Press and said it's time for our president to step it up.
Look, we need a national mobilization of the manufacturing base of the United States as we'd started on December 8th, 1941. We need to nationally mobilize using the Defense Procurement or Production Act so that we can get these companies, instead of making cup holders.
He was saying making cup holders, making masks and things of that nature. Now, Governor Inslee also praised Washingtonians for their efforts to social distance, saying it's helping to flatten the curve. He said we still have a long way to go, though. So if you missed Meet the Press and Governor Jay Inslee, you can watch it again at 10 a.m. on Kong. Meantime, today is Palm Sunday, which begins the first of several Holy Week ceremonies for the Christian faith. While many churches would typically be packed on this day, this year they're asking people to just stay at home. It's another lifestyle change because of the coronavirus. King 5's Callie Greenberg is live with the details on how things are being done differently this year. Good morning, Callie.
Good morning. In fact, Pope Francis and the Vatican, they came out with a message before Holy Week saying while people can't physically get together, everyone around the world can pray together. And that's what a lot of local churches are asking people to do in light of the coronavirus. Now, with the stay-at-home order in Washington state, local churches, they are asking people to stay home. Join them for a virtual service online. You can see here on your screen, several churches are promoting those online services happening at several times throughout the day. Now, Pope Francis said Holy Week will be celebrated in an unusual way this year, but he did go on to say that people will show the creativity of love. The Pope began the celebration at the Vatican. Normally, the Vatican sees tens of thousands of Romans and pilgrims who all gather for an outdoor mass this time of year. But Pope Francis this year was leading the ceremony inside of the shelter at St. Peter's Basilica, virtually empty. Just a few aides all standing several yards apart, practicing social distancing. Now, just like the local churches here, what they are doing at the Vatican, they also are live streaming all of the Holy Week ceremonies. Churches like St. Catherine's here, they'll be doing live stream masses throughout the day. The closest you can get to getting together in the midst of the coronavirus, but like the Pope said, everyone around the world can pray together, even though they physically cannot be in church together. For now in Seattle, Callie Greenberg, King 5 News.
Callie, thank you. Meantime, some churches are teaming up with a Kirkland nonprofit to collect medical supplies. 3 churches in Mill Creek, Bothell, and Kirkland partnered with nonprofit Vital Solutions to collect masks, gloves, and other supplies. The community showed up as well, dropping off new donations that will go to care facilities in need, as well as caregivers and nurses who treat elderly patients in their homes or at long-term care facilities.
Shouldn't be sitting in containers in our schools when our schools are closed.
So some local schools are donating personal protective equipment known as PPE, which can be used by hospitals and first responders. East Olympia Elementary had 800 surgical masks on campus, which is right near a railroad crossing.
At some point, and I think this was actually quite some time ago, a concern that if there were to be a chemical spill of some kind, we need to put a mask on every student.
So the Olympia School District donated 1,200 masks, including 200 of the N95 masks, plus more than 6,000 gloves. North Thurston Public Schools donated 1,300 masks and more than 6,000 gloves. And Tumwater School District found 2,000 masks to be donated. A live look right now at SeaTac Airport. It is virtually empty right there, and no doubt the number of travelers passing through has dropped dramatically due to the outbreak. So this is forcing many airlines to take drastic action. United Airlines just announced it's cutting 90% of its flights in and out of New Jersey and New York. Under the new schedule, Newark Liberty Airport will drop from 139 flights to 15, and LaGuardia will now only have 18 flights per day. The schedule is expected to remain in place for at least 3 weeks. A Seattle business is answering Governor Inslee's call for manufacturers to make medical supplies. GM Nameplate has begun to produce face shields for healthcare workers. The company has already donated many of the shields to hospitals and nursing facilities.
We're going to continue on doing face shields. I mean, it's all hands on deck. We have people that are, our office staff that's also starting to be part of a production line of building face shields. Personally, I build face shields. I spend a few hours every night doing that.
Well, by the end of this month, they hope to have 200,000 done. And they're going to keep increasing production as long as the need is there.